That's Professor Josh Amupitan responding to questions. That's just some of the sound bites that we could bring to you tonight. There's just so much, about 2 hours long. But you need to be in on some of the major aspects of what is said. On some past programs, we've told you who Professor Josh Amupitan is, his record, his profile, his history. We've also told you, yes, of course, you know, just a bit of, because from now on, you will see more of him. But yeah, this is the man from Kogi State, the very first to have been appointed so from that state, and Kogi State in the North Central, just 2 years shy of being a 60-year-old. Got his first degree from University of Jos, was called to bar in 1988, and his LLM in University of Jos is a PhD. You can simply say this man is a Unijos product, true and true. He in fact became a Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration of University of Jos, rose to the very highest level. But there's so much more that this man will be facing in the next couple of days. The task immediately ahead of him, as this man is getting into office, he's now going to see that he will have to conduct immediate elections, about 4 elections that he needs to conduct immediately, just about getting into office. Anambra election is just a few weeks away. FCT area council election in February, Ekiti governorship election in June next year, Osun governorship election in August next year, and the general elections, well, there are those who are saying the general elections will now happen in November. Professor Josh Amupitan will have his hands full. One man was at that screening today and he's been monitoring all of what has happened. They are the ones who will be criticizing INEC, who will be monitoring INEC as much as we in the media will also be putting our spotlight on the transparency, the independence, the free and fair nature of the elections they conduct. Samson Itodo is live for us here in our studio. He's an elections and governance development expert and the executive director of Yaga Africa. Thank you so much, Samson, for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Always a delight to be here.
Thank you. How did you feel? What was the atmosphere like? Because when we were watching it on television, it's a totally different thing. You see yet another professor. Maybe he's not casting the constitution that a professor must be INEC chairman, is it?
Absolutely.
But we've seen Professor Molisiwu, Professor Jega, Professor Mahmoud, and now another professor. Yeah. Maybe if you are aspiring to be INEC chairman, you must be a professor.
Well, that's what the trend actually says. But you talk about the mood. First, I think that when you look at today's screening, the kinds of questions that were put forward to the nominee, who has now been confirmed, and he has fulfilled that constitutional condition. So all in all, for those 2 hours, the Senate posed 33 questions. And there were 33 questions that were posed to the nominee. 29 of them were posed to the nominee orally, and then there were 4 other questions that were not posed directly, they were written. I have a problem with that because I'm actually disappointed with the way the Senate managed that. But you clearly see that I was quite impressed with some of the questions that the senators did ask. So for instance, 3 questions bordered on the independence of INEC. The Deputy Senate President asked the question about the independence of INEC. 2 other senators also raised the questions about the independence of INEC. So the independence of INEC had more questions. And the second, issue that dominated the debate, the hearing, was the management of election results. So there were questions around electronic transmission of results. There were questions around collation of results. The other issue that dominated the question was about the integrity and the accountability of INEC officials. You clearly see a Senate that brought their experience from the field to ask the chair, the confirmed chair of INEC, this question. So, to a large extent, quite impressed with some of the questions. When you look at also the way the process was managed, I thought that it started very well up to the end, when one of the senators, who was supposed to ask a question, move a motion that the nominee, be asked to take a bow. And that was what caused the sort of debate, right? Because Senator Victor Ume wanted to ask his question. And he wanted to ask a very, very brilliant question about the judiciary and how INEC, how responsible. I thought that process, because given that this was a hearing, the Senate president would have given the other senators the opportunity to ask their questions directly. What the Senate and Nigeria actually lost the opportunity was that here was an expert on election law, a renowned scholar before you. We lost the opportunity to hear him speak to the nation about some of those questions related to electoral justice, because he's got the expertise. So we lost that opportunity.
And he wrote a very big book on evidence, law of evidence.
Exactly. We lost the opportunity. Why? On the altar of politics, because I thought that the last segment of the screening was really politicized. They would have gone ahead, given the other senators the opportunity to pose these questions so that the nominee can respond. Because what he showed today was that in terms of his pedigree and capacity, it's not in doubt. He's also showed that, in terms of his integrity, that is not in doubt. And he answered those questions brilliantly well. The bigger question is the task that actually lie ahead. When you think about INEC's independence, I think one of the things that we'll be watching to see is some of the things that the chairman said. He said, one, he's going to conduct an audit. And we have said that it should be an audit of the BVAS and the IREF. So when we think about INEC independence, it's not just the financial independence. There are a few things. And the question for the chair is, one, how will INEC under his leadership do these four things? One, how would you resist the pressure from politicians incurring on INEC and putting pressure on INEC to patronize their companies or recommended companies to serve as vendors for INEC? That is another domain where INEC needs to assert its independence. How you resist the pressure from politicians is one. The second is that internally, some of the questions the senators asked today, quite impressive, was about the conduct of INEC officials. How do you sanction those INEC officials? And the bigger question is, when you think about INEC independence, how would you ensure there are no sacred cows in INEC? That if any official of INEC undermines the integrity of the commission, they are sanctioned based on the provisions, of the law, because there are certain complicit, INEC officials that are molds for politicians, and we know that. How you enforce and sanction those officials is another domain of independence. The other thing that came out from today's hearing, I could see senators actually say that the agenda and what they want to see is that the right winner in an election, is declared. And when you think about INEC's independence, will INEC under his leadership declare results based on the outcome and they're not deferring to any external influence whatsoever? These are the issues. So when you talk about INEC's independence, it goes beyond financial autonomy. It's also the operational independence. And I love what the chair said, that the Constitution says that the commission is independent and they're going to rely on the provisions of the Constitution. So only time will tell, but we're going to have to keep watch over this INEC to see that some of the comments and the promises that the chair has made, that he fulfills them.
Now, there are those who say, and on this program, there is a guest of mine who said, this is perhaps one of the best decisions that President Bola Tinubu has made in terms of nomination or appointment. Do you think so too?
Well, this, I wouldn't say, because it's relative. The question is, when you look at the criteria that citizens set, does the chairman meet those criteria? The first one was a question about non-partisanship. To the best of our knowledge, there is no evidence anywhere that this individual, has been a member of a political party or aligns with any particular political belief.
And you can also see about whether as a lawyer, he has served and he
pointedly, responded to that. But even the dynamic in today's hearing, you can clearly see that he doesn't, to a large extent, pander or even is known to any particular political formation. So, to a large extent, you can say he's apolitical prior to now. And our prayer and our hope is that he would maintain that particular stance. The second was about impeccable integrity. That's what unquestionable integrity. That's what the Constitution says. To the best of our knowledge, there hasn't been any petition, written questioning, his integrity. So to a large extent, you can say that this individual and the nominee does have, the moral and perhaps the integrity to hold this office. The third one was whether he's got an experience in election or in a related field. I think it goes without saying that based on his credentials, he has, the capacity. Does he have, the mental stamina, the mental ability? It is clear from today that he does that. And the last point is about the courage. From the way he responded to these questions today, you clearly see that, he can.
Yeah.
But, this is a screening. When he gets into office,
his true character
he's going to face a major test.
Yeah.
The first major test is the Anambra election, which
and he just has a few weeks away.
He just has few
less than a month.
Exactly. And I know that I haven't been confirmed today, even though he still needs to be sworn in. I guess he's already putting plans in place to ensure that there are already plans in INEC. He needs to spend time. And some of the comments he made that when he gets to the commission, he will sit down, listen to all the plans that are in place. So you would say, I think the president, to a large extent, appointed someone that meets those set criteria.
Jokingly, off the camera, I was having a conversation with someone who says he knows Professor Amupitan very well. Yeah, gentleman. But the person said, but that man is very stubborn. But I mean, jokes apart, stubborn would be very good, especially when you need someone who is resolute and who can stand against any form of manipulation from politicians, because they will come after him to manipulate him, to offer him money, to dissuade him, to assuade him, whatever way they will come after him. But one thing that I want Nigerians to disabuse their mind of. You think Professor Jega is a perfect man. And I'll tell you the truth. Jonathan lost the last election conducted by Professor Jega. And you remember on the day of the collation, a former minister came forward, Orubebe, and was agitated. That same drama happened the last time around. Yeah. And there are those who will say Professor Jega did a fantastic job. There are a lot of phenomenal effort made. You cannot underrate his effort. You see Mahmoud as a bad man because you are not satisfied with what he did. There was a drama that played out in the Orubebe drama. There was a Dino Melaye drama also which played out on the collation day. Because an incumbent lost an election, a lot of people thought the election was free and fair. Well, if that is how you describe, don't forget, under President Jega, the elections conducted where we had to postpone election on election day. Similar problem was envisaged or seen during Professor Mahmoud. Where am I going to, Samson? You see, these men are the helm of affairs. They sit in one place. They see one thing at a time. Yeah. The real people that need to be judged in INEC are not the man or the men that got sworn into office. They are the people we don't know their names that we don't see. I'm afraid Professor Amupitan, who has ticked all the boxes, has probably put his integrity, his profile, his energy, his everything on the altar and the sacrificing it on the altar of criticism and Nigerian scrutiny. Yeah. That is a dangerous one, isn't it? And you need to be able to stake it out. But the fact remains that the man who can spoil his work is not even known by anybody. That is a danger, isn't it?
I think there was something that very instructive that the Professor Amupitan said during the screening. He said that if confirmed, the position he holds is a position of trust. And he's going to take that message, to INEC. And I agree with him. But the reality is that having worked on elections for 2 decades in Nigeria, he's going to need more than that in the engagement with the INEC officials. And that's why the senators were asking the question about how do you hold complicit INEC officials, to account? It's going to get there because you have to ensure that, one, the collation officers, those who will be managing the collation, some of them are academics. And Senator Shomole actually raised the questions about lecturers. Because if you look at, some of the electoral offenses, there are some of them who are academics. It doesn't mean that our professors and our doctors our PhD holders don't have integrity. No, but they are bad eggs. The question is, what do you do to those people? How do you ensure that you sanction them?
The prosecutorial powers.
When some of those collation officers are bought over by politicians who are in power. That is where you have to assert your independence. That beyond, blacklisting them, they should face the full wrath of the law.
Yeah.
Like the professor in Akwa Ibom is facing the full wrath of the law. So it's going to go beyond that. What Nigerians will be watching on civil society is, in fact, the chairman talked about whistleblowing. And we were very excited that, yes, if there's going to be a whistleblowing policy in INEC, that would help a great deal. But yes, even if you have the whistleblowing policy, the consequential action you take has a great impact on whether people will trust this particular commission and its ability to hold its own officers to account.
Thank you so much, Samson. But this is where, I've been covering elections, and I dare say that I'm an elections expert in my field of endeavor. But something that I see that is happening, which I think is some kind of a cure for the problem that I envisage, and how politicians manipulate those who handle elections at the local level, is this: citizens must come and fight for themselves. Vigilance is the word. Look, Professor Amupitan can only sit in Abuja at one time and monitor and see what is going on the screen and in the situation room. It is the average Nigerians that now need to now do the rest of the job. Every one of us are now Professor Amupitan in the polling unit, in the ward unit, and in the LGA, and in every collation center. If you cannot man it day and night, you are not a Professor Amupitan. We are all there is an Amupitan in all of us. And that is only way which our elections can be free and fair.
But Sean, we must, a very brilliant point about citizens, but we must also know that INEC is not about Professor Amupitan alone. There are 12 other national commissioners. There are 37 resident electoral commissioners. There are 774 electoral officers across the local government. All these people, their personal integrity matters a lot. If they don't cooperate with the vision set by the chairman, and you allow, politicians to compromise these individuals, then to a large extent we will be back to ground zero, and that's where we must not get to. So as we look at the chairman, let's not forget there are 12 national commissioners, there are resident electoral commissioners, there are EOs.
I want to put a challenge to you. Can we have a hashtag to publish the names of the RX, the national chairman, the LG? Know your INEC officials. Put them to task. You and Yaga and the rest of your friends in the civil society, let's begin to identify and put the blames and put the task and the duty on those people and be able to hold them accountable. But thank you so much, Samson, for your time tonight.
Always a delight.
I wish our nation the very best in this very, very auspicious moment. Thank you so much indeed. We take a break.